Hi, my name's Sean, and I post on Google as Crux Driven. Just making a video here. I already made a video testimony, but it was like over 2 hours long, and I didn't want to take up everybody's time. So I decided to make a shorter version of my testimony, and then maybe someday I will make little videos to tell you like crazy stories and stuff that have happened to me and stuff. But I'm making this video to tell the world, whoever wants to hear, how I know God and how I know Jesus Christ and how God has changed my life. And I want to basically say first, before you listen to my video, that if you're out there and you're at the bottom of the barrel and you're really struggling with like a drug addiction or whatever, I just want you to know that my life has been a complete roller coaster. Okay, my entire life. I've never known people too long. I've always moved around. I've never lived in one place for more than like 6 months to a year. My entire life until I was 19, I met my wife. And I've been through a lot of crazy stuff. I didn't grow up in a Christian home. I think that's one stereotype that a lot of people have, is that they think that people of faith just grew up in a house where their parents just told them everything they know and they never questioned anything or something. It's not how it works. At least that's not how it's worked for me. And like I said, I've never really lived anywhere for very long my whole life. I've always been a new kid at school. I got in a lot of fights at school. I got in a lot of, girlfriends at school and this and that. I got into a lot of trouble. I've been into a lot of drugs. I've been into a lot of partying, a lot of good times, a lot of bad times. My parents have been divorced my entire life. I've done every drug in the book and ones that aren't in the book, okay? And nothing that I'm proud of, but I can tell you that, if you think you've done stupid stuff, you're looking at the master of doing stupid stuff, okay? And I've been through a lot of stupid stuff in my life with drugs. I've, left town as a teenager. I'm going to 7 Mile Bridge, I'm driving to Florida. I'm going here. I'm going there, I always took off. My dad, when I was a kid, he was in and out of jail and stuff for like DUI mostly. But basically, I've been around a lot drinking as a kid, alcohol, drugs, parties, rock and roll music, people playing guitar, hammered, old man's drunk, dancing with the Christmas tree, stuff you never even could think of, okay? And I'm just saying that because, like, I want you to know that, I've been down every road and I'm back. And I'm here to tell you that I found out that, Jesus Christ can change lives. And he did it with mine. And, I'll just tell you that up until I was about 19, I never had really any money. I, dropped out of school to get a job when I was a kid. I was probably 16, 17. And I moved away. I worked for a company that built mausoleums from scratch, traveling around the country. And did that for a while. And when I came home, met a girl, got addicted to heroin, and that was that. And I ended up meeting another girl, got hooked onto cocaine to get off of heroin, and got hooked on ecstasy doing ecstasy, so much ecstasy. Like I've taken 12 pills at one time to get high because I can't. I mean, I haven't tried to do it in a really long time, but at the time I couldn't even get high from it. I could take like numerous pills and it wouldn't do anything. And the thing is that like if you're in that situation, you're in a bad situation, whether you like it or not. And I don't know. I when I was 19, I started thinking a little different about my life because my my girl, my wife, she was held up. Our house was robbed by a bunch of guys, and they took a big Bowie knife and put it up my girl up to the wall, and they stole like money and stuff from my house. And when that happened, it was a big wake up call for how I was living because these are the type of guys that were at my house all the time, hanging out and everything. I basically, that and just feeling guilty for being a total piece of crap really got me thinking about stuff. And there was one night that I had like this little book that I used to write stuff in, and like I drew a little cross in the book with my blood. I like pricked my finger and I drew a little cross. And I remember writing, "I will change my life." And from that point on, for some reason, out of all the times I ever tried to do it, it happened. And I'm not gonna say that I totally accepted Jesus at that point because that's not true. But it's kind of like I invited him in just a little bit, and I went from a complete drug addict within a couple years, like 5 years or so. I went from a total drug addict to being married with child on the way, and I got my black belt in Tang Soo Do, and I was becoming an instructor at a martial arts school that I was training at. And that might not be the Rockefellers or whatever, but to me it meant everything. And my school and my wife and my kid was like my life, everything I could possibly want. And there was a time when some girl that I know, like, she asked me to go to church with her, and I thought about it, and I was like, you know what, I think maybe I should thank God a little bit about this. Like, there was just so much that happened in my life that I was so grateful for, and it was like, thank God, but I really wasn't. I didn't have any direction with the thank God thing. It was like I was grateful, but I was thankful to God, but I didn't really know God, and I didn't really know how to thank him or whatever. But anyway, this girl, she invited me to go to church with her, and I remember I went there and I felt so weird. Like, I felt like everybody was looking at me, and like I just felt like I don't belong here. Like, in my mind, I'm like, you don't belong here. But my spirit felt like it wanted to be there, and I wanted to learn about God, and I wanted to see what was going on. I wanted to know if it was real, and I remember they said this prayer. It was like, close your eyes and say this prayer. Dear Jesus, if you're real, please come into my life and show me that you're real, and take control of my life and help me to be a better person, something like that. And before this, my whole teenage years, I was into occultism. My mom is she was like into astrology, numerology, energy stuff. She used to sit at dinner and do our like numerology charts and stuff. And I don't know, like, that's how I grew up. And I grew up reading occult like books when I was a teenager. It was more like a fun thing to do. I don't know, but I kind of like sort of took it seriously, I guess. But at the same time, it's like I didn't really know if I believed it or not. But I like the law of Thelema was something I believed, and it was kind of like, your will is the maker of all things, and it was all about I didn't look at it the way that a lot of people portray the law is the book of the law when they talk about the will. I kind of looked at it more of like your real will was the maker of things, but I've learned the hard way, because I'm not a very good listener, but I learned the hard way that is evil, and if you're living like that, you gotta know that. But anyway, I went to church, and when I said that prayer, I had this little visual, and like occultism and magic and stuff is all about your visualization. Like when you're doing like a ritual or something, you visualize all this different stuff, and you burn certain kind of incenses, sometimes eat certain kind of foods to like, bring on that feeling or that consciousness. Um, anyway, when I prayed that day, like I visualized this little flame in my heart, and it was like the size of a match. It was like a little tiny thing, and I don't know. I from that day on, like, every once in a while we go to church and da 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 da. And I'm not gonna say that I totally gave my life up to the Lord at that time, because I didn't, but um, I let God into my life, and that was 7, 8 years ago. And I've been slowly reading the Bible, slowly doing things. But a couple years ago, I was on top of my game, got my third-degree black belt, knocking people out in the kickboxing ring. I was a Golden Gloves fighter. I was really into boxing, kickboxing and stuff, karate. And I was getting into like MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, our school was like the coolest school, man, because it was like we could go to the Jiu-Jitsu school, the boxing school, the kickboxing school, the karate school. We could hang with all of them, the best of them. And, I was getting this MMA stuff, and I don't know if you know anything about MMA or Jiu-Jitsu or anything, but people that can't grapple, they just grab onto your head and try to like tear it off because they don't know what else to do. And I got in a couple of fights like that. I had a real big dude, who was a friend of mine, just cranked my neck so bad. And then, I had punch in the face all the time, kick in the head, things happen. But I eventually I got in a grappling match with my younger brother, actually, who's a lot bigger than me. And I busted my neck up real bad. And I was crippled for about 5 years. And it took 4 years, 4.5 years, till I decided to close my school. And I had my own, I didn't mention, I guess I had my own martial arts school for a couple years. Talked about all through town as the best school, small school, but good instructor. And a lot of people liked me and stuff. Busted my neck. Lost everything I ever cared about, everything that I worked really hard for. God just took it away, and I was pretty angry. And I was a little angry at God, but I was still praying to God that my neck would get better and I could just get better and get back in the ring and like do my thing. Never happened. And I struggle with that. But at the same time, sometimes you gotta wait on God. And I waited on God for a long time for something that never happened, that I prayed for, about, my neck getting better, and it never happened. But there is a good ending to the story. That situation, it hurt. I lost a lot of friends. I was Master Sean around town, and I had a lot of students slowly slipped away. People that I thought were my friends that would like come up and, oh, Master Sean, how you doing? My best buddies, right? Just diss me. And God showed me something that, you know, having your 15 minutes of fame means nothing to other people. And as much of an important thing I made my, ego, my school, my, fight record, whatever, deep down, no one gave a crap about anything I was doing but me. And I just want you to know that if you're seeking something that, is like a vain thing, and you think it's like so important, really think about it, because I was like that for years. I trained myself like anybody that knows me will tell you that I was the hardest working dude in the gym anywhere I went. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just telling you that I was obsessed with success and just being the best possible, everything I could be. But when it was all taken away, God showed me something. And this is what it is. And I said it already. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about you when you do that stuff. They just act like they do because they want to, suck up to you and stuff. They don't care about you, They care about your ego. That's it. And I'm not going to say that nobody loves me, because that wouldn't be true. But out of the 95% of people that did love me, that said they loved me, that played my best friend for years and years and years, when I was down and out, they didn't want nothing to do with me. I got like 3 or 4 friends out of hundreds of people that I knew. And, thank God for those few that I did have, because I don't know if I would have made it. But the thing is, when I was 16 years old, I was in a juvenile detention center, and I had gotten in trouble for being a punk, and, I was in there, and there was a big, like, we were in this big auditorium or like a big room or something, right? Like a gym. And anyway, this lady came in to the home, and she was she said she was a prophet or something. She had this yellow sash on, and all the people that were in trouble at the home, all the kids were like lined up next to each other, and this lady and these other couple guys would like, she'd touch their head and they'd fall back, and these guys would catch them. And I'm like, this is weird, But anyway, she, got to me, and she started talking to me, and I don't really remember what I was saying to her, but she told me, and I remember this. She's like, one day, you're going to preach the word of God. And at that time, I was like some long-haired grunge kid, like my parents don't talk about God. You know what I mean? I'm like, this lady is nuts, But anyway, she like took this oil and she put it on my head, and she like said something, and I fell back. And when I fell back, like I just felt like electric go through my body. And it was like, I didn't know if I like made it happen by thinking about it or what happened, but it was crazy. Like I had this, it was like my whole body was just, and it was like, it felt good, but it was like too much. And I think that, God, I really think now that I'm older that, and I know that God is real, that he did that so I would remember what this lady said. And she told me that one day I was going to preach the word of God. Because of my school getting shut down a couple of years ago, I closed it myself, by the way. But because of that happening and how close I've come to the Lord and how much I've learned about Jesus and how much God has done for me, and that school thing, losing all that, it's a blessing, man. And I'll say right now, I am grateful for what happened to me. And, I complain about it sometimes in a way because I miss everything, but I miss my health. I was in top physical condition at that time. I miss that, but here's the thing. God showed me a better way. And the prophet that told me I was going to preach, it's happening, man. And if you got like God in you that's calling you to teach him or learn about him or whatever it is, do it now. Don't wait for 10 years and do all this extra stuff that don't matter and then have to go through all the struggle that I did, okay? Because that God calling is real. And recently, like a couple weeks ago, I went to this lady's house. I'm a contractor, okay? And this lady needed some work done, okay? And I went to her house, and she was listening to like a Christian radio or something. I don't even know how it happened, but we started talking, and like this lady was amazing. She was telling me stuff about how her father, a prophet, told her father that one of the kids was going to be a preacher. And there was all these brothers and sisters. She was like the black sheep of the family, but she ended up becoming like a minister, a pastor. And she told me all this stuff, and it was just like, for a long time I felt this calling to God, and it was like dormant, and I'm doing all this stuff, I'm just plateauing, and that day in this lady's kitchen, they were like these Spanish folks, right? And it was these two girls and a guy, and the guy, he was like a really, really tall Spanish guy. He's standing there, and like me and her talking, and I just felt like this like presence of goodness, and it was like coming off this lady, kind of. I can't explain it. And the guy that was standing next to me, he just starts crying, and I'm just like, what's going on? And she's like, the Spirit's coming over him, and like I knew that he was feeling what I was, and like the presence of God is like an awesome thing, and like it was like in this kitchen. And like I end up crying, this dude's crying, and this lady's just talking to me, and it's like God is just telling me like stuff that I need to hear about certain things. And like that's the kind of stuff that people need to hear about, because there's 2 billion plus believers out there that all have experiences, and I really believe in this Christian Truther network. That's why I'm making this video, because I think that like if you're a believer and you're watching this and you have some kind of experience like that with God, you gotta speak it, man. I mean, we need to do this, man. Do you realize that if every single believer could witness to only 2 non-believers, we could save the freaking world, man. I mean, sorry, man, I'm nerdy. But here's the thing. It's true, and I have got, I've had straight up evil experiences in my life with straight up wicked stuff that I don't even want to get into right now, because otherwise you'll probably turn this on and be like, this dude's freaking nuts if you haven't already. But the thing is, we need to get, if you're listening to this and you've had a revelation from God in some way, and that's just one. I mean, I have a prayer buddy that we get together once a week and we just pray about everything. We write down everything that we pray about, and you would not believe all the stuff that is like a miracle. Like if you really sit back and think about it, you're like, wow. I mean, my wife's grandmother had cancer a while ago, a breast cancer, and it's gone. We prayed about this stuff, and it's gone. And like you can say, oh well, blah, blah, whatever, and be a non-believer, whatever about that. Listen, dude, if you have faith and you pray to God, I can tell you crazy stuff that has happened to me that I have on record that I'm not going to talk about right now. But I'm into this so much because I've seen the power of God. And if you know about the power of God, you need to make a video Please. You know? God needs you to do that. Anyway, the thing is, I don't even remember when I got off track. But listen, thank you for listening to my video. And, excuse me if, you're an atheist guy or whatever. We got into it online. I apologize, okay? And I just want to come out with that. Listen, man, like, I'm like a fighter, okay? I've been training myself to be a freaking, manhandler, okay? And I'm not a violent person, though, honestly. I mean, for real. I'm not like that, okay? But my mom is like a freaking lawyer, man. Like, if you argue with her, you're going to freaking lose. And I got her blood, okay? And so if, like, we're arguing online and I get a little out of hand, I know I'm out of hand. I'm working on that, okay? I'm working on that, okay? But I'm a seeker of truth, too, okay? I don't just believe bullcrap, okay? I'm out here doing this stuff because I believe this stuff. I'm not just, like, got some blind faith or something. This stuff has changed my life, okay? And I'm telling you that, I want to be able to give that gift to somebody, okay? Because I know it's real, and I know it's powerful, and like, it's just, that's why I do this crap. I don't do this crap, and argue online and make videos and stuff to, like, one up people or win arguments. What the heck is that? I got a wife and kids, man. You know what I'm saying? My wife gets pissed at me when I talk online too much. You know what I'm saying? She's like, because I'm neglecting my family, man. You know what I'm saying? I would not do that stuff if over arguments. Okay? I've been in arguments, freaking fist fights with people. You know what I'm saying? I've been in the ring with trained fighters, boxing, kickboxing, and doing like heavy contact stuff, arguing with some nerdy kids online over atheism, God, blah, blah, blah. That's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this, man, because it's real. And you got to know about it. And God wants me to tell you about it. Okay? That's why I'm doing it. Okay? So, love you. Like I was saying, if you see me arguing and I'm getting too crazy, just let me know. I'll shut up and leave. Okay? It's out of love. Okay? And I don't want to be one of those, like, righteous freaking people out there, because I'm not. Okay? I got a lot to learn. Okay? Number one is how to be more calm and gentle. Okay? I know that. All right? But anyway, I love you. Have a happy new year. Okay? And if you're God's people, holla.
Come check out Sean's channel, Crux Driven. Thank you for watching.